Welcome back to the Built for Profit podcast. Guys, I am fired up to have Mr. Brighton joining the call today from Utah. Him and I have got to know each other fairly well the past few months. I just respect him so much as a human being. He's doing incredible things in business, which I cannot wait to dive into here in just a minute. So anyway, without further delay, I'll let him just kind of start off by telling the story. So Brighton, number one, welcome to the podcast. Number two, if you want to kind of tell the listeners a little bit of who is Brighton. I know you're a family man. You're running a business at the same time. So give us a little insight there.
Yeah, awesome, my man. Thank you for having me on, dude. I'm stoked. This has been in the works, and first of all, congrats on the launch of the podcast. It's fantastic. So,
Thanks, Brighton.
Yeah, 2 cents about me, really quick. Obviously, my name's Brighton. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO at HiringPros.com, where we specialize in helping small service-based businesses hire A players across our entire organizations. That's what I do by day. I'm also a husband. Been married 9 years. Got 3 kids, all boys, 7, 5, and almost 18 months. So it's pure madness at home. But they're the joy of my life. They're the reason I get up in the day, the reason I keep going to work. So yeah, I love those. I love my family.
Yeah, so good, Brian. I love it. Okay, so tell us a little bit. Obviously, you gave a quick snippet of Hiring Pros. I'm curious, back us up a little bit. How did you even get into knowing that's kind of what you wanted to do, is help business owners find A players? Like, kind of tell us that story of how you even got in that space.
Yeah, well, it's a long journey, but I'll keep it short. Since I was a kid, I've always wanted to start and own my own business. I was the kid in high school that instead of getting a job, I started my own window washing company, or I'd go try to get a few lawns to mow. I just didn't believe like I should just get a minimum wage job, and like I just felt so undervalued at that, and I felt like I had more to do. And my dad was an entrepreneur and owned his own insurance agency. It was like, that's what I want. I never wanted to be a cog in a big or a wheel in a big machine. And so that's kind of where it started. So I always knew I wanted to own my own business. And then I served a 2-year mission for my church, which was like the greatest growth experience right out of high school, because I just learned how to talk with people, how to be independent, and how to solve problems all day. It was super hard, but it was awesome. So I came back from that, went to school. And while I was at school, I was studying accounting and business. And during that time, I was constantly reading the business books. I was listening to the podcasts. I was just kind of itching to get involved in something. And eventually I kind of got in with a marketing startup that helped generate leads for real estate investors. And there was the
Cool.
2 founders, and then it was me. And I helped kind of scale that business from 0 to 3 million in like 2 years.
Wow.
And I was like the ops guy. It was really fun. We went through the whole COVID mess.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have equity in that company. So I was kind of looking, what's my next game? But through that, I had done some summer sales, and I learned throughout my different jobs and different career how big of a difference it was to be surrounded by people that elevated me.
Yeah.
And were energy givers, and those that were energy takers, right?
Yeah.
Stephen Bartlett says, like, people either wire you or they tire you. And I just started to recognize like the big difference in when I would go into work or I'd be participating, and when I was surrounded by these people that would wire me, I enjoyed it. I couldn't get enough. I was super engaged. I was super productive. And so I started to recognize this pattern of like, there's something here about being surrounded by really good people. Okay. And then from there, I had some really poor jobs and poor leaders and hated it. The job was fine, but I was miserable. People don't leave jobs oftentimes because of the actual work or the pay. It's usually because of leadership or the team.
Absolutely.
And I had experienced that firsthand. I had experienced great leaders, and I had experienced really poor leaders and great teams and poor teams. And my life was so much more, I don't want to say fulfilling, but it was just more full. I had more energy. It was less draining when I was surrounded by these A players. And so fast forward to exiting that marketing company and looking for kind of the next thing, and ended up kind of taking a real interest in my co-founder's business, who's been a business consultant coach, helping build teams, wrote a book on leadership, and started doing some real interest into his business, kind of paid my way to get into his business and co-travel with him, and really started to just like eat it up like a sponge and soak it up like a sponge. And before you know it, we're like, hey, we're recognizing there's a huge problem. People suck at hiring, especially small businesses.
Yeah.
We kind of have a framework that he had started to work on a little bit, but had seen such better results. And so we identified an opportunity. We said, hey, we should go after this. So we started the business. And that was what, 4.5, almost 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's all we've been doing since
Let's go.
is refining that model and just continuing to do it. So what I've learned, there's a lot of advice. I struggled with it for a long time of like find what you're passionate about and do that.
Yeah.
I think it's bad advice mostly because I have no like, especially when you're young, you just don't know. Like you don't
Yeah.
know what you like, what you're passionate about.
So
What
true.
I've learned is like you can learn to get passionate about all sorts of things,
Absolutely.
especially when you have experience in it and you felt the pain. And so I've experienced that. I've felt the pain and I've recognized, man, it feels so much better to be surrounded by A players and people that bring you energy and wire you, and not those that tire you. So
Yeah.
anyways, that's a longer story than I was expecting, but that's the story that's brought us here today.
I love it. We just give such good context why you're passionate about what you're doing. And dude, you mentioned that point. It is so good. I think it needs to be repeated that when you're an 18-year-old, 20-year-old, 22-year-old with zero work experience or really not a career behind you to understand what you like and what you don't like, maybe a better way to say is what you're good at, what you're not good at. It's impossible for you to know, like, follow your passions. Like, I hate that
It's
college
bad.
commencement speech, right? Because, like, all these college kids have never done anything. So you don't know what your passions are. And I think it's a book by Cal Newport, but he talks about uh, become so good at what you're doing and you will get true fulfillment at it. Like you'll start like realize the things that you're gifted in, what you're good at. And it doesn't matter what that is, but just pursue that. And then all of a sudden, if you get good at it and people get rewarded because people pay you for what you're doing, then you'll start really, really enjoying it. And so I think there's just power behind like gaining experience and understanding what you're gifted in is so good. So the other thing I wanted to point out from your story too that I think is powerful is you got to see in previous jobs what it was like for people that what'd you say, wired or what was the other
Wi
what was
Wired or
wired or
tired.
tired, that's what
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, because
Wired or tired.
you've worked with people, right? Where it's like you're around them and it's
1,000%.
like they're just energy suckers, man. Like they just cause drama or they just require extra effort to be around and you just walk away from the conversation just feeling
Yes.
like less fired up, right? But then you get surrounded by other people and you're like, I could run through a wall with this person. I'm ready to go. Like let's build
Yeah.
something. That's the difference between like wired and tired.
Yeah, so good, Brighton, because I think everybody has that's worked longer than 2 weeks in their life has experienced that, right? So it's like to your point, and what's funny, and you and I have had similar conversations in the past, but of just like when you are a business owner, it's your choice to hire the person that drains you or
Yeah.
actually gives energy to you. But that's why I love it's just it's hard a lot of times, and that's why y'all are building this awesome business to go serve business owners in that way. But, like, at the end of the day, you realize it's not just the drain at work, and I'm sure you feel free to talk into this, but, like, all of a sudden now your kids are feeling it when you get back because you've been drained by so and so that you complain to your wife about every single time you get home, and, like, it just bleeds into every area of life that it's just life's too short to live in a world where you're just surrounded by people that drain you all the time. So, I love that that's kind of your passion of
Yeah.
finding those players.
Well, it's fascinating you say that. So there's a study that came out a few years ago that it was like a 60,000 plus managers were surveyed and 95% of them reported. Let me read this. 95% of managers report that the least enjoyable aspects of their job were problems caused by mishires.
Wow. That is a crazy stat.
Yeah, 95% are saying they're caused by mishires. And
That
let's
is
just like if
wild.
you just play it out and you think about as a business owner in particular, I think the two big things that keep people up at night are people problems and profit problems,
Yep.
right?
So true.
You talk about profit all day and I talk about people all day. They're one and the same, right? Because if you have the
That's
wrong
exactly right.
people in place, it's hitting that bottom line big time. And we can dive into that more. But the things that I know that have kept me up on the weekends and I'm dreading going in on Monday is I hired someone that was wrong and there's a tough conversation that has to happen. I don't want
Yep.
to have it because it's you care about people. Most business owners I know that are successful care about humans. And they
Absolutely.
and they don't want to cause them pain or problems. But then you have to look at yourself in the mirror like, freak, this is my fault. I
Yeah.
screwed up. I hired the wrong person. It's a mishire, and there's no one else to blame, and so there's no one else to save you, and all of a sudden, you've gotta just deal with all these pain in the neck problems, these
Yes.
ownership tax problems.
That's right. And Brian, to your point, on top of that, and this I've been thinking about this recently too. On top of having the hard conversations, and on top of potentially hurting someone in their livelihood because your business is providing for their livelihood, then you think about what happens once they're gone.
Yeah.
Now I got to get back in the weeds, or I got to put all hands on deck to kind of do what they were doing, but not doing well. And then I got to go find somebody that's going to potentially replace them and start over the whole entire training process. And so it's like this roller coaster ride that every business owner is just like, oh my gosh, I'm going back down this hill again because I got to go figure this thing out. And that all goes back to saying yes to that person initially and seeing if they were the right hire or not. So I can't wait to dive in that a little bit. So I'm curious for you, as you are building this business, like how do you serve small business owners when they come to you? Just kind of walk us through a typical scenario when somebody says like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm struggling to find the right people. Where do I even go from there?
Yeah. Well, I think we gotta even like dive deeper into the problem. So any businesses that is scaling and growing needs humans. Unless you're like a AI mogul who's just like built this AI agent machine.
Yeah.
But if you're a service-based business, you need humans to operate. That's just how it is. And so you need to hire people. Well, as a founder or an owner of a company, you wear a billion hats every day, all day. I'm putting on the sales hat, the marketing hat, the HR hat, the leadership hat, the firefighter. I'm dealing with
Yep.
all those things. And so now comes the hiring hat. And I've never really learned the skill set. At least most small business owners haven't super spent time role playing and skill drilling, interviewing and vetting and trying to find people. And so what do? We go off gut and vibes and just like hope the vibes feel good, right?
Yep. Thousand
It's just
percent.
like they feel good, let's give them a chance. And unfortunately, this gut and vibes, it's kind of interesting when we can dive into some of the numbers, but when you start to actually play it out, you realize that going off this gut and vibes is kind of like gambling with the future of your business.
Yeah.
It's almost like going to the roulette table, throwing it on black 17 and just hoping it lands. And
That's a
you're
great
risking
analogy, dude.
you're risking 40, 50, 60, $100,000 every time you do it. But we're stressed because I got to get someone in here, I've got to solve this problem, and I've got a million other things. And
Yep.
so we identified that this is a huge problem, especially for small businesses because they already have too many hats to wear. Normal recruiting services are broken. They just offer, and they're pretty expensive. They say, "Hey, I'll charge you 30% of first year annual salary, and I'll send you some resumes and hope it works out for you." And that's the typical headhunter contingency recruiting model. Well, as a small business owner who still doesn't know how to hire, just having someone come in the door doesn't help me. And now they're even more expensive because I'm paying the recruiting fee on top of now I'm going to have to go replace them in 3 to 6 months because I didn't know who to hire to begin with.
Yeah.
That's the problem that exists. And we said there's got to be a better way. And so we've built an entirely new model that we become our clients' full-blown hiring partner and talent strategist to help them oversee all of their talent strategy from the beginning of who's going to be a player for us to the entire recruiting and vetting and contract phase to ensure that they're hiring A players across all of their key roles. And we offer that at a kind of like a retainer rate so that we can not just pay the 30% commission thing, but we can give them a fair rate that can help them to scale and hire across their entire organization. So
Yeah.
that's kind
That's
of what we
great.
do and how we help.
Yeah, that's so good, Brian. I love that. So I love that you go back to the foundation, to the business owner to try to really understand. Cause like your point, like everybody knows the headhunter out there that just does exactly what you just said. And so it's like they're just churning for commission, I feel like, just to get somebody to fill a seat, a
Yep.
warm body that doesn't actually in turn help somebody. And then once again, it's that roller coaster feeling that every entrepreneur's felt that goes back through that process. So I love that you've kind of restructured the entire model of your industry, which I think is a beautiful thing of what y'all are doing. So tell us real quick, what do you feel like right now in business? You said you said 4 years in, is that right? Y'all are four
Yeah,
and a half years in?
4.5, 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right around there.
Yeah, it's wild that you're already there, man. That's crazy. It's just time flies. But what do you feel like right now is the thing that you have momentum in that y'all are like, man, we're kind of humming along. We're doing this fairly well in business.
Good question. I feel like there's always problems to solve, and that's my
Yeah.
job is to identify the problems and focus on solving them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, so just to pull back the curtain a little bit, we because we've kind of built this new model and we're continuing to help. Marketing, brand awareness is always top of mind. How do we get more customers and how do we get them more
Yeah.
efficiently? And so for the longest time, we've been approaching that in a way of like, as the owner, I'm going to hustle. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to get on podcasts. I'm going to try to build relationships and kind of do the founder led marketing. And which is good. It's got us to where we are today. But we said recently where it was like, we got to drink our own Kool-Aid a little bit. If there's
Yeah.
a place that we can invest in our business that gives us higher ROI than anything else, it's in people. And so if we are really good at this hiring thing, shouldn't we drink our own Kool-Aid and go find
Yeah.
an A-player marketer? So that's what I'm doing right now is I'm in the weeds. I've been headhunting and recruiting great marketers. I've had some exceptional conversations and bringing someone onto the team that's going to help kind of blow up the brand. And so that's, anyways, what's humming and working is it's really fun to drink your own Kool-Aid and just do
Yeah.
the stuff that you tell everyone else to do. I mean, we've already
Yeah.
done it across the other parts of our business, but this is a real investment of a hire rather than like a backfilling of a hire.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
expect them to come in and provide growth. So that's been cool. What's awesome is our customers are over the moon because with our service for the first time, they're not just buying back their time, but they're getting a super high ROI in their talent. And they
Yeah.
feel for the first time that there's a process in place that I'm not just going on gut and vibes. I'm not just going to the roulette table. I've got a process to actually hire awesome people. And
Yeah.
like now all of a sudden, these founders start to focus on the other cruxes in their business and they're growing faster, they're scaling faster. And so that's really fun.
Yeah. Okay. I have a couple questions to dive in because obviously you're walking through this with getting someone on the marketing team for y'all. Number one, I guess when you're going out and doing these things for your clients or internally for y'all now, how do you even go find other A players? Like, what's y'all's process there?
Yeah, well, good question. I think in order to answer that question, you first have to know what an A player is
Yeah.
and who that is for your organization. There's a really, really simple framework. I learned it from one of my coaches and mentors that I think does a simple job. If you were to draw four or 2x2 square, so like a matrix
Yep.
almost, and on the x-axis or y-axis, it would be culture.
Just
And on
vertical, horizontal. That's how I
vertical,
think about
horizontal.
it.
Let's do vertical, horizontal, man. I'm a vertical, horizontal. So vertical, we'll do culture, and horizontal, we'll do results. And if you
Cool.
were to build a 2x2 square, an A player has to bring, has to match culture and bring results. Okay, just very simply put, they have to
Yep.
they have to match culture and results. We
Yep.
take it a little bit further and we build out what we call the ideal avatar of your candidate. And we have an acronym we use for that called SPACE. And so the 5 things are skills, um, skills, personality, alignment. Wow, space S. I'll have to
We
edit
can,
this.
dude,
Yeah,
we can
you're
just
good.
start over and we can edit that back.
I'm sick, so my brain's a little slow today. But
Oh, goodness.
so space is skills, personality, alignment, culture, and experience.
Okay.
And we believe A players have to match across all 5 of those pillars. And the way that we start to do it for like our clients is we've built some culture surveys. We have a couple different kind of like experience or trainings that they have to go to. We create
Yeah.
what we call the talent audit. So we look at their current organization to identify who's an A player there, what's their
Yeah.
culture really like, what are the behaviors that matter to us, what's our long term vision, what's the experience required, all that stuff, and then we build out this very clear picture of who this A player is. Okay. So most people don't do that. They just think,
Yeah.
okay, I got to go find someone that I think's an A player, and there's no clarity. But Stephen Covey talks about how we have to begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
And that I think that's such a true principle across all aspects of life. So why
Yep.
not building your team? And so if you begin with the end in mind of like, this is our ideal person, they have these X experience, they have this level of experience, these specific skills, they have to match these parts of our culture. They're this type of personality, they're fast paced, they're direct communicators, whatever. Now all of a sudden we have this person that we need to go find. And so you start to look into where you could find them. Depending on who that person is, you could be doing some headhunting from other organizations that have already done what you want to do and try to poach some people. And there's great job boards out there. But my advice for most founders is like, begin with the end in mind and actually take pen to paper and try to clarify who you're even looking for. Because you
Yeah.
think you need a marketer, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, what skills do they have to have? They now have to market. Well, what does that even mean? And let's define that further. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question in kind of
No, it definitely
a
does.
roundabout way.
No, it's so good, Brian, because I think, and I've seen this in my own life, or I guess in my own small business building life, is that if you're extremely clear on the role and the talent for the role that you're looking for up front with the beginning and the end in mind, it makes the actual narrowing the person down so much easier,
So
right?
much easier.
And it also allows you to hold that person accountable 6 months in, 12 months in, 18 months in, 10 years in. To say, like, this was the role and responsibility. And if you find that match so well because you were extremely, you put a lot of intention behind that job role and the clarity behind it, it just makes it so much simpler to kind of really find your perfect person for that. I think
Yeah.
that's power. Okay, I would love for you to speak a little bit to this because I feel like I've experienced this a little in my own life trying to serve people and what we get to do. I'm curious, how many times do you have somebody approach you where it's an owner, but they're not willing to like release everything they should release? You know, maybe they
Yeah.
have too much of a control issue or whatever it is. I'm curious, like when you bring on a client that is searching for an A player, how much of it is you're interviewing them as well to be like, "Hey, you're not gonna be a good fit because you're not willing to release control to who we're gonna try." Just talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's funny because you've probably been there. I've been there. It's a lesson you have to learn. Like, if I want to scale or do anything that's bigger than me, I have to bring on people that are better than me. Like,
Yep.
it's not an option. And founders and really, really huge founders, like we're both Dan Martell fanatics. He talks
Yeah.
about this all the time. Stephen Bartlett, Hermosi, like everyone talks about how you have to learn to get to be the dumb person in the room.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing to deal with. What I think most people, founders, struggle with is they think that because what's typically happened with someone like that is they've hired a bunch of yes men, yes women helpers,
Yeah.
and they're used to being the go-to person, and they're a genius with 1,000 helpers, and that what happens is it bottlenecks the entire organization, right? They
Yep.
can only grow to like their capability. Some people are super, super capable, but if they want to actually do something exciting and build something big beyond them, they're going to have to bring on good people. And the paradigm shift that people have to go through is realizing that when I'm not the smartest person in the room, my business it actually starts to amplify.
Yeah.
I think A players are truly amplifiers. They make things better.
Yep.
B players plateau, they keep things steady. C players bring it down. And most of the time they've hired a bunch of BC players. And so they don't even know what it feels like to have someone in there that's going to
Yeah.
challenge them, that's going to make it better. And so, yeah, we have to make sure that one, that the founder owner has ambitious goals and that they
Yeah.
realize that in order to do that, in order to operate from that frame, if it's a 10 million, a 20 million, $50 million business, I have to operate from what's the $50 million business like? And how does that person make decisions? And how do I apply that today? If
It's
I'm
good.
using the $10 million example, as a $10 million business owner, you have to have some sort of executive leadership team in place.
Yeah.
And that team can't just be coming to you to solve all the problems because you're never going to get there.
That's
And
right.
so you have to start to operate from that as the frame. And when you start to do that, you realize, yeah, like I have to get out of the way. But
Yeah.
then there's like, how do I get out of the way? And it's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, dude. I'm picturing myself in your shoes where you're like, "Hey, we got this thing that we do, but I'm also kind of a counselor in your life." You're like
Yeah.
talking with these business owners to basically could convince them, especially the ones that have never experienced that before in their life. Because I would imagine there's probably a lot of them out there that are hitting a ceiling that they can't ever break because they're the bottleneck at the end of the day that they're not willing to release. And okay, I'm fascinated by that. I mean, once again, this reminds me so much. You've heard the quote and probably use it often with Steve Jobs, but he talks about we don't hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they tell us what to do, right? And I just
Exactly.
love that quote. And it's challenged me for me to be the dumbest person in the room, like you're saying, which is like such a awesome pursuit to be on as a business owner, if you're willing to release control. I'm okay. One other question in that I was thinking about like when a business owner approaches you and they're like have a specific number in mind, like a budget or whatever. I think about like a NFL salary cap or something like that, right? Where they're like, okay, this is what I'm willing to spend. How many
Mhm.
times do you go back to them and you're like, there's no A players out there for that price?
Almost always. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost always. I mean, people start to come to us and they're like, "I just need to find," because 'cause they've experienced enough mishires where
Yeah.
they're paying, and as adults, we tend to finally change when the pain of staying the same is worse than the pain of changing, and so they've
Yeah.
experienced enough pain of mishires and having the wrong people and those problems where they're like, okay, I realize I need to get better people. I need to get A players, and they come to
Yeah.
us and say, "What's it gonna take?" And
Yeah.
so we do always do a kind of a comp and analysis report to make sure that they're within a range and that it makes sense. But what's fascinating is lots of people will look at their P&L and they'll think, "Okay, I only can allocate X amount of budget." Right? Let's say I've got to go hire a salesperson, okay? And I'm like, "Man, I can really justify doing 60K salary or something like that." And they could go do that, and that 60K salary might attract a B player, and you're gonna hire a B player, and you're gonna get B player results, and
Yeah.
it's gonna plateau the business, you're not gonna grow, you're not gonna see a super high ROI, whatever. But if I could pay Alex Hormozy talks about this all the time. He's like, "If I could pay an additional, you know, 60K a year to get an A player who on average sees a 10 to 16x ROI when you bring on an A true A player amplifier,
Yeah.
uh, the math just maths.
Yeah. Exactly.
You start to actually see the growth and the investment in your people. So the highest ROI you can get in your business is in your people. It's higher than your skill set. It's higher than your technology. It's higher than anything
Yeah.
because they're the ones that generate revenue. They're the ones that help improve profit. Is your people. So
Yep.
we have to help understand that if I want to get an A player, I have to be willing to I have to be willing to make A player investments.
Yeah.
But in those investments, you should expect an ROI.
That's right.
And it's very very possible, and it's true if you have a process to ensure that you're bringing on A players.
That's right. I'm curious for you, Brighton, too, like post the A player coming on board and a big new investment for this business owner that's never had an A player before. Do you coach them up also on like, okay, this is, you need to evaluate this person at X months in, 6, 12, 18, whatever it is, to start? At what point do you kind of coach people up to say, like, you should start seeing a return kind of here? And does that depend on the industry or what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think there's a lot. It depends on the role, depends on the industry, depends on the complexity level. But what we've seen is most A players are coming in. You're starting to see a ROI within 90 days to 3 to 6 months. Like they're making an impact. And A players believe that they have confidence they can do that. They've done
That's
it
right.
before. They know what they're bringing to the table. And so they're not having to make it up. They're not
Yeah.
having to solve the problems. They usually already have a little bit of that experience, or they have the skill set of quickly solving problems and being able to provide value.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it depends on as far as when to anticipate an ROI. There's a lot of factors, but we do try to advise them to have really clear understanding of what the expectations are, to be constantly measuring. A players want to know that. They want to know what am I going after? How do I know if I'm going to be successful? And then they should
Yeah.
have an incentive plan to perform that way.
Yeah, so good. Okay, sorry, we're a little over time. I just got to keep asking these questions though, because I just love what you do. The other thing I was thinking about, and you mentioned your SPACE acronym, right? So I love that concept. For you, if you boil down like an A player, how much, if you think about just 50% here, 50% here, what percentage do you feel like is like experience driven that really allows them to add crazy value to a business owner? And then how much is just like grit, personality, drive innate inside of them that allows them to
Yeah.
be an absolute, killer in their business?
It's not as a clippable answer, but I think it depends.
Yeah.
Depends
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
role, genuinely.
Yeah.
So when we build out an ideal avatar across the space, we usually have anywhere from 15 to 20-ish key characteristics that fall
Yeah.
into those 5 buckets. And then
Okay.
we have a process of weighting those differently customly per position we're looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, because you might have some, but what I think most people do is really, really undervalue culture fit because they don't know what it is and they don't know how to interview for it. They don't know how to
Yeah.
vet for it. And so you might get someone that's super experienced, maybe even has the skill set, but they come in and you just hate working with them.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. It's
Yeah.
not gonna work.
1,000%.
So, yeah, yeah, it's interesting. So, the answer
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, that's good, Brian. And go ahead.
no, I just look across the entire process.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. It makes, and like you said, this is the reason it's so much more complicated. Like you said, you had the 20 criteria that you're zooming in on, which I think is a beautiful thing. This is why y'all are doing what you're doing because it's very hard and very complicated to find like the perfect fit for the unique business of what's going to get them to the next level. So love that you're doing that. Okay, going back to the earlier question I asked you, you had the momentum question. What's the problem in your business, or what are you looking at from a bottleneck, or whatever you want to call it? What's the thing that you wake up thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly thinking about how do we help more business owners hire A players, and so we're on a mission over the next 3 years, and by the end of 2028 to 10x our business and make 500 key hires in the next 3 years. That's what we're gonna do,
Let's go.
and so I'm constantly just solving whatever is the next big crux for us to get to that. That's what I'm devoting all of my time and energy of doing. And so that's like, okay, $10 million business, whatever, has to have executive leadership team. And so I'm starting to recruit and bring on the next who that can help us solve the hows. And so that's marketing. That's we're going to be investing in some technology to improve our onboarding processes and all those things. And so we're just looking to say, okay, how can we make sure we've got the systems and the people in place so that we can make 500 key hires over the next 3 years? That's what I'm constantly solving for.
I love that so much. This is why I just love talking to you, Brighton, because like there's very few people out there that have the big audacious vision that you have to do something at that speed of time as well. But obviously you've, I'm sure, read the book, and I'm sure a lot of people have, is that 10x is easier than 2x. But
Yeah.
that concept behind the guy that wrote Who Not How is the same thing. But I just love that because it really challenges you to say, like, why am I worried about this crap that I shouldn't be worried about?
Yeah.
That's only going to
Well,
help us
yeah,
incrementally grow.
I'm obsessed with the framework. So Dr. Benjamin Hardy's the guy that wrote both those books. He just wrote one called Science of Scaling. And we've used that framework so much to just look at our business and completely challenge everything. And the framework is just frame, floor, focus. And frame is what's the impossible goal in an impossible timeline. And what I found is when we started to apply that is you very quickly start to sift between noise and signal. Like it
Yeah.
just it forces you to do it, and it's so powerful because oftentimes I would find myself like just spinning my wheels thinking, okay, what do I need to focus on? What's the next thing? And I always kind of getting distracted or going after this new shiny object. And when we use that frame of, 500 key hires in the next 3 years, it's like, okay, what has to happen next so that we can do that? It just sifts all that noise out and allows us to just focus on signal. And then we use time as a tool to shrink timelines and get rid of unnecessary steps that don't even need to exist. We just use them as limiting beliefs or factors and stuff. So, yeah. So, anyways, I love it. It's been really cool to see how we've applied that to our team and how quickly they're all in and just
Yeah.
how can we shrink time? How can we act faster with more urgency, not recklessly, with purpose, but just on the right stuff. And when we're
Yeah.
focusing on the right stuff, man, the momentum in the business, the speed in which we're acting is so much faster than it ever was before.
That's so good, Brian. I think, and to your point, for you, because it's so easy for everybody to just fall into the busyness of the loudest mouth or what the biggest fire, whatever you want to call it. But to your point, I'm sure that you keep that frame of reference, your 10x, 500 hires, that whole thing, like top of mind all the time, right? You're probably
Oh,
looking at it daily,
I look
right?
at it. It's on my phone. It's the screen. I have 4 main goals in my life, and that's one of them. And so, yeah, I look at it's on my screensaver. I look at it
Yeah.
multiple times a day. We do weekly accounting where you review those, and you're planning your next week as a team. I have them do what we call a weekly report, and so they're submitting this and looking at the next week, and I'm reflecting on the previous week, what has to happen over the next week, so that I can work from that frame and start to solve that problem. And then we shrunk our quarterlies down to monthlies, and just things are just acting faster, and using that as constantly the frame of like, what are we actually solving for?
Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
good.
it's super cool.
Man, there's so much power in that. Okay, Brian, I could ask you a million more questions, but I know you got to go.
This is so fun, man. I love it. I love it. Let me end with this. I just want to give a quick case study to bring this into reality for a lot of people, because you talk about profit, and well, unless you need to go, do we need to actually end?
No, no, you're good. No, 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 this is perfect.
Yeah. So let me just end with this really quick to bring it in full circle to actually grasp what's happening in people's businesses that they're not realizing. So I
Yeah.
call this talent debt. And talent debt is the cost between mishiring, or hiring a B player and hiring a true A player. So the average cost of a mishire is typically about 40% of the annual salary of the person. That's the
Wow.
minimum typical cost that hits a business. And it's even more expensive when you start to consider it. So let's just play it out for a second. Let's say you hire a $100,000 employee. Okay, so this is like director level manager person. You expect them to come in, do some good work. You did it on gut and vibes, and
Yep.
all of a sudden you've invested 8K a month for 3 months, and you realize, ah, crap, this is not the right person. Okay, so that's $24,000 you've already invested in them.
Yep.
And then the average cost to turn around and try to go do that again is going to be 40% of the first year annual salary. So that's 40 grand. Okay, so just
Yep.
already what's hitting your business is $64,000 in lost cost, opportunity
Yep.
cost. Okay,
Yep.
so I just want you to remember that $64,000 number. Oftentimes, for revenue generating roles, it can be even more expensive.
For
And
sure.
the higher up you go, the more expensive it's going to get. Let's say we would have hired an A player. A players report anywhere from a 10x to a 16x ROI. Okay. You can find that. It's in Who Not How, but 10x to 16x ROI. So let's apply the same math. We hire a $100,000 person, and instead of a $8,000 cost, we're seeing an $8,000 return or whatever each month. So that's let me do the math here. So the $8,000 investment would be a 10x, would be $80,000 in revenue generated, right? Compared to revenue lost or cost. And
Yeah.
then if you times that by 3 months, that's $240,000 plus the opportunity cost of the 64. Okay. So just the difference in this times is $64,000 net loss to your business compared to
Yep.
a 304,000 return.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the difference between hiring A players and even B players who are just good enough at the job, but
Yeah.
not actually killing it. And that gap there between the negative 64 and the positive 304, I call that talent debt. And it's
Yeah.
killing so many businesses across the country, because what happens is most people get in that, and it's not just 3 months, it's usually 6 months, 8 months,
Yep.
12 months. And you're dealing with that for a long time, and it's plateaued your entire business. And I'm just so passionate about helping people hire A players who give them energy and help them grow their businesses that much
Yeah.
faster.
Brian, that is a remarkable when you really start putting numbers to it, it is. I didn't imagine it was near those type of numbers that you're talking about. And I mean, and especially now in 2026, like you look at a $100,000 salary, right? It's like, I mean, you're probably paying more than that in a lot of places. So then that means the talent debt is even greater than that, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
And
exactly.
so, yeah,
And
go
the
ahead.
average success rate, mishire rate for most managers is upwards of 50 to 70% of failed hires. And
Wow.
so most people are doing that 3 to 4 times before they hire the right person.
Woo.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you just start to do the math, and it's like, this is costing our business 500,000, $1 million every year that we're holding on to the wrong people.
Yeah.
And until we learn to hire the right people and put them in the right seats and get out of the way and let them go to work, your business is going to be super, super bottlenecked.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think that's so valuable. People need to know about it.
Oh, there's no doubt. I really honestly, that puts fantastic context to this whole conversation because there's like there's a massive weight around this issue, right? That's true money literally being burned in your business
Yeah.
when you think about that. And not only, and dude, here's the thing about that is just the money side is a brutal, but you think about the stress,
Yeah.
the amount of nights that of sleep that you lose because you're worried about this and all that stuff. It's like
Exactly.
that's honestly more important to me than the money, and the money is massive. So it's like, man, yeah, it's a massive issue. So I love
Yeah.
what y'all are doing.
It's brutal. So let's change the way people hire.
I love it.
Yeah, if anybody wants to change the way they hire, they can email me, message me. We've got a free hiring blueprint. It's like
Let's go.
15 pages, breaks down our entire process. Even if you're not quite to the point where you're needing to make a bunch of key hires, get the blueprint. It'll help.
Yeah, that's so good. So yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So email you. Where's the best place to reach out?
Yeah,
Website or wherever?
reach out, Brighton at hiringpros.com. You can go to our website, hiringpros.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Brighton Nield, on Facebook at Brighton Nield, on YouTube it's at Hiring Pros. We're posting content every single day about this exact topic. Send us a message. Happy to have a conversation.
I love it so much, man. I will vouch for Brighton as well. Like I said, we've gotten to know each other over the past few months, and so he's just a man of integrity and character. And so I love what y'all are doing. I love what y'all are building. I love how y'all serve people. So definitely reach out. Thanks again for being on the podcast, man. I appreciate you pulling the curtain back.
Awesome. This was so fun. We got to do it again.
Let's go. Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
Let's go, dude.